There is a massive wave of attention towards DJT stock, and I want to talk about it in this video, the technicals that you need to see that help to build this case for what exactly could happen for Monday's market open. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education, and this video literally is being filmed in front of a live studio audience. They're right over there. All right, that live studio audience is two of my daughters and one of my daughter's teeny bopper friends. So not a large audience, but here we go into the technicals. I'm sure that they'll appreciate it and you will probably appreciate it a whole lot more. So this is the monthly chart that we're looking at for DJT stock. So when you look at this, there's a little bit of a timeline. So back here in these early kind of go nowhere months that you see, this is when it was just DWAC or DWAC or DWAC, however you want to say it. And not much happened. And then it got announced that Donald Trump was going to be associated with it, and it was going to bring free speech back to the internet because there was so much censorship and everything going on due to COVID, vaccines, and fake news and all that kind of stuff. And so there's a lot of hope sold and a lot of energy that went into it. And then you could see that there was a significant sell-off over time. I don't know if X had something to do with it, and Elon Musk taking over Twitter and also pushing free speech there, that it gave an alternative. Who knows? But then what we see is that starting in January of this year, we start to pick back up on a monthly basis. Remember, every one of these candles here, you can see in the watermark back here, DJT 1 month. So every one of these candles is a month. You can see that this is the time that we start hearing about the merger actually taking place between DWAC and DJT stock. So as we hype up into that and get into March, and it was the end of March when that merger finally happened, then you start to see that selling pressure, and so we can see that happening. Now, something that you want to pay attention to when you look at this is the RSI on a monthly basis, because for the month of July, we are brought down to 50.12 as of Friday's close, and that means that we are on that borderline between bullish or bearish on a long-term trend basis, and well, with tomorrow's excitement, July could definitely pick things up quite a bit. So we're on that borderline between bullish and bearish, and it's going to flip bullish on us. We're going to bounce off of that, and that could really start us off onto something that even if Monday is super hyped, that it doesn't mean that Tuesday and the few days following that there couldn't be enough momentum into this thing to send us up for a few days. Maybe we even push beyond the 80 mark, and maybe we go back and check 100. We're going to check that in a little bit here. So let's drill down into the weekly basis on this. And you can see that on a weekly basis, we did go bearish for a little while and kind of went a little bit sideways in that bearish direction. You can see with the price action that we absolutely, there we go, that we started trading sideways on that as well. Looks like we could even start falling further from that. However, when we go down to a daily basis on this to see where we're at, we have actually started getting rising momentum, but just barely, and we did bounce off of support. I'll put the technicals back on. If you didn't see my earlier video, go back and watch it, because I also talk about Bitcoin and I talk about Tesla in that one. I even make a small mention of Ethereum, also worth checking out. So go ahead and check out that video, but I will put a more detailed analysis into this one for DJT stock. So for this, what we're looking for is that RSI cross above 50. Tomorrow could definitely do it. And if I bring back some of the drawings that I have on here, there we go. And also let's bring back the indicators on this as well. Actually, I'm sorry, I have the indicators turned off. Let's turn those indicators back on. We're going to keep the EMAs off right now. Let's leave the 200 on there. Let me see. Perfect. And we don't need VWAP, and we'll put the 50 on there as well. So let me reset the chart view here, and we'll take a look to see what that looks like with those things unhidden. There we go. So let me get rid of the Bollinger Bands. We don't need those right now. So what you see when you look at this is that we see support that started back here back in January, and then we came down here and then made an actual line for support. We actually confirmed it going into the end of June, and now we just bounced off it again. But now we are under the 200-day, and that's important when we look at that we're under the 200-day, because it's possible that we got rejected there and sold off further, especially on a weekly basis where we started going bearish, and then on a monthly basis where that could have also pulled us down into bearish territory, that we could have had just a short term, maybe a little bit up until the weekend happened, until we had the incident. And now with a rally of support coming behind Donald Trump and DJT stock being the most direct financial access that people are going to get to see immediate results from something like this, because this is a financial channel. So that's the way that we'll talk about this. If I reset the view again here, you can see the consolidation pattern that we're in, that we were to peekaboo up above that at the end of May, just for a little bit, and then experienced much further price weakness following, most likely due to what we saw with the trials and conviction. And then we also had a delay of that sentencing that I believe is supposed to take place on July the 11th, pushed out to September now, if it indeed happens at all. And that's actually something, not on a technical basis, but just something to consider. He was supposed to be sentenced. Now it could be highly unfavorable in the public eye to go through with that sentencing at this point in time. There's going to be some sort of public sympathy, I think, that goes along with something like this, especially as such a symbol of strength, I believe, for the country at a time when they really do need that sort of symbol of strength, when we're not necessarily getting the same picture from the other side of the aisle. So that's something to keep in mind. Not a political discussion. This is purely a financial discussion where politics might come in to impact it. So putting the chart back up here. So what we see on a daily basis with that bounce, I said in my earlier video, we could blast right through 40. We could see that 54 come out. And then I mentioned the retest to all-time high at 80. That is not an all-time high. I actually have to go through and fix that. So let's just call it retest of 80. The all-time high is actually something crazy like 175. So my apologies for not looking far enough left on that one. But we could most definitely retest 80, which was this previous peak that we got right before, or right when, I should say, DWAC stock became DJT stock. So we want to keep paying attention to that. But like I said, we could push out all the way to this previous peak that we got out here over the coming days up to that 100. Now, will there be a significant drawdown? Most likely at some point in the future. I don't believe that it happens Monday. I think that we could at least have 2 days of upward movement out of this. We're going to have to watch and see. You know, the bears are going to come out because they're also going to be looking for their opportunities. There is a little bit of short stocks, a little bit of short selling. They're going to want to cover, but there is something else that I want you to pay attention to. Let me hide my drawings on here so that you can see this bit of stuff over here. This is called a position cost distribution. And when you look at this, the prices, right now it shows you the current price, the last close that we had on Friday, of almost $31 per share. This blue line is the average price, about 36, and you actually have a high concentration of stocks up to about $40 per share. So we actually have a large accumulation of shares below $40. That means if we can cross above $40 per share, there's very little selling pressure that can actually take place because there's not a lot of shares that we know of that are held above that price. So above 40, we actually lose a lot of that resistance that could come from selling. Although I want to know who's going to be selling tomorrow. I think that tomorrow is going to be a very igniting day, and I think that people are going to be looking for where that top comes in. I don't think that we're going to get a lot of selling pressure tomorrow. And then where do we exhaust that selling pressure? We exhaust nearly all of it. If I bring the chart over here, let me reset it, and we'll bring it back on. We hit a gap right at about 56, and it picks up again right at about 62, and we actually peak out about 70. So if we climb up above 70, we actually have, well, the sky's the limit kind of room on that, and then it's all in the hands of momentum at that point in time. So just to recap some of the details about this from a technical standpoint, monthly chart could go either way, and we're about most likely to get a high volume day, probably with some upward price movement, especially if we can melt through that $40 mark. Then we get much less selling pressure that can take place above 40, and even, well, less to nearly none at all that takes place beyond that $70 mark. So that can really help us out with that case that I've been making, that $40, I think that we could get to pretty easily. 54, I think, is going to be easier than that climb from 31 to 40. And then if we're able to push up above that 54, then we can really set our sights on that ultra high price, I think, of $80. And then after that, you know, we're going to have to see. I said a non-zero chance, a non-zero probability, I should say, of hitting that $80 mark. That would be huge. That would be incredible. That's about 158% upside from where it's at right now. And if we were to get up to that $100 mark, that's over 200%. Is it 0% probability that we get there? Once again, not zero, but the more that we stretch this out, the harder it gets to. But this is huge. This is much bigger, in my opinion, than just merging from DWAC to become DJT, which put us up to $80 in the first place. This is bigger than that. So that's something that really convinces me that there is still maybe an even slimmer chance, but there's still a chance there. That $100 mark, that's incredibly bullish. I mean, nobody really knows. Nobody has that crystal ball. I have, let me see if I can figure out which hand to point with here. Back there, I have a magic 8 ball. As a matter of fact, let me grab it for this one. We'll find out, as per the magic 8 ball, what's going to happen in the market tomorrow. All right, so will DJT stock hit $100 before this expected run is over? Well, Magic 8 Ball says, my reply is no. Maybe it messed up. Let's try again. Come on, will DJT stock hit, let's go with $80 before this expected run is over? Oh, now it says it is decidedly so. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get that on camera there. Maybe, let me bring it back a little bit for focus, and maybe you might have to zoom in on the video, but I believe, yep, it still says it is decidedly so. So as per the Magic 8 Ball, not a crystal ball, not going to get 100 as per the Magic 8 Ball, but it did say it is decidedly so that we're going to hit that $80, and maybe right there is the 8 with that circle around it. Numerology at its finest, my friends. With that said, if you guys want to hear more of my commentary, see how I'm playing this market, see how I'm playing DJT stock, come on over to the Patreon. That link is down in the description. Click on it, sign up, and then join the Discord. That's where I post my buys and sells. That's where I talk to my community members over there as well. I got an options course that I'm filling out for you over there. And if you guys want to learn to do technical analysis like I do, learn to benefit in these markets, really empower your portfolio through technical analysis trading, there's a link for that down in the description as well. I really do appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Let me know what you think of DJT stock down in the comments of this video. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education. Remember, my friends, that learning is earning, and we'll see you in the next video.